Hope and Shadows, Chapter 16, Bad Blood, Part 1, by Stephen Little. My Little Pony and all associated characters are copyright by Hasbro. In the home, Garnet and Applebloom Filigree, two ponies, slept soundly. In the inky blackness of the morning, the soft ticking of a brass alarm clock could be heard. As the clock's hands aligned with the machine's preset time, a trip switch was forced down, releasing the wound-up tension of the alarm spring and propelling a hammer back and forth between two polished brass belts. Without warning, a yellow hoof came down and snuffled the clock out of existence. "Time to get up already?" Garnet asked as he heard the last of the delicacy-crafted gears and sprockets clatter to the floor. "Sorry, Sugar, it startled me again." "It's okay, Bloom. I'll see what Julian can do with what's left of the clock, and who knows, he may have something that's hoof-proof," Garnet said, trying to reassure her. Applebloom rolled over and snuggled against her husband's chest. "You know, now that we're up, it'd be just plain wrong to waste this opportunity," she said, rubbing a hoof along his inner thigh. "We really should get ready for work. We only have an hour to shower and grab something to eat," he told her, trying to ignore the effect her attention was giving him. "Please?" she asked, looking at him with the saddest eyes she could muster. Garnet smiled and kissed his wife. "Have I ever said no to you?" Rolling to his side, he wrapped his hoofs around the yellow mare and kissed her again, his hoofs running down her back to her flanks. The morning's pleasure had not lasted long, as either of them wanted, but they both knew they had responsibilities that could not be ignored. After a quick breakfast, Applebloom headed for the door. "I'll see you this afternoon. Do you want me to meet you at the station?" "Sure thing. And could you bring lunch with you? I have a lot of paperwork to catch up on, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get away." "Can't you send one of your deputies out for donuts? That is what you police officers eat, isn't it?" Applebloom said with a sarcastic smirk. "Seriously, though, they messed up the reports already. I wouldn't trust them with something so important," Garnet responded. "Okay, then. I'll grab lunch after my shift, then I'll be right over," she told him as she stepped out of the house. Garnet waved to her as she galloped down the road towards the home of Equestria's royalty. "What am I going to do with that mare?" he asked himself with a smile. "You don't have to worry about that for long," a voice said before Garnet's world went black. Princess Luna poked her head into her sister's darkened chamber. "Tia?" she whispered. "Tia, it's time to raise the sun. Are you awake?" When she received no answer, she used her magic to light a few of the numerous candles in the room. Bathed in the candle's soft light, Celestia lay in her bed with her wings around the love of her life, a love she had been without for over 1,000 years. Seeing her sister's content smile, Luna quickly snuffed out the candles and retreated from Celestia's chambers, quietly shutting the door behind her. "I think I'll let them sleep yet a while," she thought to herself as she walked down the corridor away from the castle's sleeping chambers. Realizing that she would have to raise the sun herself, she wandered downstairs toward the kitchen to get herself a snack before performing the task. "Good morning, Princess. Is everything all right?" Applebloom asked on her way to the entry of Luna and Twilight's chambers. "Good morning, Major Filigree," Luna said, stopping just outside the kitchen. "Is everything fine? Why do you ask?" "I'm sorry to be presumptuous, but the sun should be up already, and no pony has seen Captain Bell since she reported for duty last night. She should be accompanying you right now, actually," Applebloom said with a hint of annoyance in her voice. "Sweetie Belle doesn't need to follow me everywhere, Major, but I vaguely remember Captain Horton telling me that she was summoned to the library by one of my Luna guards. She left Sergeant Blazewing to guard my chamber door while she was gone. He's still there now," Luna explained. "I see. As to why the sun isn't up, Kieran and my sister appear to have been quite active during the night, and I thought it best to let them rest. I will be raising the sun today." Applebloom chuckled softly. "Well, they do have 1,000 years to catch up on. I can certainly identify with that." Luna smiled at the comment. "Indeed. I was on my way to the kitchen to get a small snack before raising the sun. Would you care to join me?" "It's not protocol, but I'd love a cup of coffee right now," she said. "Certainly, I'll brew it myself," Luna said, opening the door to the kitchen. "Who goes there? Be thee fried or fritter!" Luna flipped on the newly installed light switch to find her daughter stretched out on the floor. The kitchen was in shambles. Bits of pastry were splattered all across the walls and counters. 3 bottles of cooking sherry had been emptied, one of which lay on the counter, dripping its remnants onto Dawn's once pristine coat. The young princess lay there on the floor, straining her head forward to reach a small bit of tea cake that was mere inches away. "Come to me, you treacherous pastry," she said, addressing the cake. Luna ran to her daughter. "Dawn, what happened to you?" "Mom?" she asked, as if just noticing her presence. "Mom, you should have been there. The battle was glorious. The tea cakes were leading a rebellion against us, but with the help of the Royal Bottle Brigade, we were able to defeat them," she explained as her mother helped her to sit up. "What are you talking about, dear, and since when have you ever used the royal we?" Luna asked her. "Dawn, I want you to blow into my hearth," Applebloom said. "What?" both she and Luna asked in unison. "I know it sounds weird, but please do as I ask," she said. "We shall do nothing of the sort," Dawn insisted. "Now!" Applebloom ordered. "Who do you think you are to order us about like this?" Dawn screamed in her face. "You work for us, you raggedy excuse for a pony. Don't forget that," she said, just before collapsing into the mayor's hooves. "Oh dear, I'm so sorry about that, Applebloom. I'm sure she didn't mean it. I best take her to her room to sleep off all that cooking cherry," Luna said. "Applebloom, we both know she was obviously drunk, so why were you trying to test her for alcohol?" Applebloom let the princess take Dawn from her. "Take her to the hospital wing. I'll wake Dr. Sawbones." "For alcohol?" Luna asked curiously. "She's drunk and filled with sugar. That alone is a bad combination, but I think she's also been poisoned by tansy extract. I could smell it on her breath." The major sat smelling the remains of the tea cakes on the floor. Straightening up, she took a quick taste of the cherry dripping off the counter, then spit it out immediately. "It's in everything. Princess, please get Dawn to the hospital wing immediately." "Okay, Major, but I want an explanation later." "Yes, Your Majesty," the yellow earth pony said as she walked towards the castle's newly installed intercom system. Applebloom watched the princess galloping down the hall with her daughter draped across her back as she pressed the call button for the guard station. "Captain Hawthorne, are you there?" "I'm here, Major." "Lock down the castle," she ordered. "What's happened?" "Don't ask stupid questions. Lock it down, now!" "I want full tactical armament for all guards. All castle personnel are to be recalled immediately. Drag them back to the castle if you have to. Send Delta Squad to the kitchens, and I want it sealed off. No pony in or out," Applebloom ordered. "I also want you to send some pony to get my husband. This is still his jurisdiction." "Right away, Major. Any further orders?" "Yes. Send Alpha and Beta Squad to secure the residence and the hospital wing. Captain Princess Dawn has been poisoned. Wake Dr. Sawbones and spread the word to the other guards. Some pony attacked the royal family on our watch, and I want to know who." Dawn was resting comfortably in the royal medical chambers as Princess Celestia and Kiran rushed in. "Luna, Twilight, what happened?" "Your Majesty, your niece seems to have been poisoned by a rare herbal extract," Dr. Sawbones explained. The light blue earth pony stallion flipped through Dawn's medical chart. "It doesn't look like she got a lethal dose, but we're going to continue to monitor her. Right now, she just needs rest," he said, brushing his gray hair back. "Some pony got into the castle and poisoned Dawn," Luna said, weeping next to her wife. "Who would do such a thing?" Twilight asked, clutching her daughter's left hoof. "If I may interrupt for a moment," Applebloom said. "I don't think the poison was meant for Princess Dawn. I believe it was meant for you, Your Majesty." "Me?" Celestia asked. "Yes, Princess. The food that was poisoned was meant for you, and the poison they used is in and of itself a clue," the Major said. "After speaking with the doctor, my suspicions were confirmed. Whoever poisoned Princess Dawn used extract from the tansy herb. This herb has been used to prevent a pregnancy in low dosages, abort unborn foals in slightly large doses, and in extreme cases can cause sterility and death. For the last 3 months you and Karen have been inseparable, and I believe some pony did this to either keep you from becoming pregnant, or to abort any foal you may already be carrying." Princess Celestia was beside herself with confusion. "Who would have done this? The castle staff was picked amongst the most loyal of our subjects." "I do not believe any member of the staff perpetrated this offense, but rest assured I will personally see that they are found. With that in mind, I would ask your Majesty's permission to pick amongst the castle guards to put together a team to find, capture, and bring to justice those involved." "You have my leave, Major," Luna said, the anger apparent in her voice. Find them and bring them before me so they may face my retribution." "No, sister, I will deal with those traitors." "They attacked my daughter, Celestia. The poison was meant for you, but it was Dawn that got hurt," Luna shouted. Twilight placed a comforting hoof on her wife. "She's been through so much. It's not fair that she should have to bear such hardship so early in her life." Princess Celestia looked to Major Applebloom. "Go, Major. Go and find those responsible for this." As Applebloom reached for the door, Captain Halfson barged into the room. "Pardon my intrusion, Your Majesty, but I "Report, Captain," Applebloom ordered. "Sorry, Major. We have secured the residence and the castle proper. All staff is currently being recalled, as per your orders, but we have yet to find Captain Bell," he said. "Not surprising. She probably went home. Is there anything else?" the Major asked. "Yes, ma'am. We tried to reach the captain at her residence, but neither Captain Bell or Scootaloo could be located. We couldn't find your husband either, and when we searched the residence, both Prince Dusk and the Lady Dinky could not be found. It's like they all just disappeared." "Ponies don't just disappear, Captain. Take a squad and find them," Applebloom ordered. "Disregard that order, Captain. Major, you have your orders to carry out. Find those who poisoned Dawn. We will deal with this new issue," Celestia commanded. "As you wish, Your Majesty," Applebloom said, as both she and Hawthorne bowed before leaving the room. Dawn began to steer. "Mom, Mother," she said weakly. "What happened? What am I doing here?" "My precious Dawn, are you okay? How do you feel?" Twilight asked frantically. "My head hurts so much. What happened?" she asked. "Dawn, sweetheart, you've been poisoned. Some pony got into the palace and poisoned everything in the kitchen, but you're fine now, and that's what's important," Twilight told her. "Applebloom and I found you in the kitchen this morning. It seems you ate all your aunt's tea cakes and drank 3 bottles of Chef Colesberg's cooking sherry," Luna informed her. "Needless to say, he isn't happy with you, and neither am I after some of the things you said to Applebloom." "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry for the things I said, and I'm sorry I fell off the sugar wagon. It doesn't matter any more anyway," she said, trying to excuse her behavior. "What about Dinky? After Tootsie Flu told you about your glucose sensitivity, you promised her you wouldn't go overboard with the sugar again," Twilight said. "It doesn't matter. She doesn't really love me anymore, if she ever did," Dawn said, her eyes filling with tears. "That's not true, dear," Luna said. "She told me herself," Dawn hollered through her tears. "She told me that I was acting like a silly little filly. She told me that I needed to grow up and get a life of my own. All I wanted to do was show her how much I loved her, and she threw me out of her room. She was right. I'm just a stupid, spoiled little princess. I'm a mule and hand-me-down finery," the depressed princess said. She held up her light grey front hoof, letting it dangle limply at the elbow. "Even a hand-me-down leg," she cried. Both Twilight and Luna hugged their daughter, trying to comfort her. Luna nodded to Dr. Sawbones, who promptly injected Dawn's IV with a powerful sedative. "Sleep now, my little one. We can talk about this when you awake," Luna said, softly, lightly brushing her daughter's mane. Having been excused by the princesses, Applebloom quietly closed the door to the royal medical suite softly and charged down the hall, heading toward the barracks in the east wing of the castle. With every beat of her hoofs, the yellow pony mentally berated herself. "I failed them," she thought to herself. "It was my job to protect Luna, Twilight, and their children, and I blew it." A knot of pain caused by her ever-growing regret, and the stress she was piling upon herself was building in the pit of her stomach, as she galloped down the hall, her personal guilt and recrimination eating away at her. "You know, just because you weren't there doesn't mean it was your fault," some part of her mind tried to tell her. "Shut up, Brain! What do you know?" she argued with herself. "I know that Sweetie Belle was here along with half a battalion of solar and lunar guards. The princesses were not unprotected," her own mind tried to tell her. "You are not responsible for this." "No, I am in charge, and that means I'm responsible for my pony's behavior, especially their failures. But by Faust, I'm going to find out what happened," she told herself, her guilt quickly turning to anger. As she turned down the corridor that led to the barracks, she put on an extra burst of speed, damned and determined to find out what her guards were up to while some pony went about poisoning half the kitchen. Inside the barracks themselves, word had gotten around that Princess Dawn's poisoning, and the castle guards were gearing up for what they assumed to be a very long day. The guards from the Lunar Corps were always ready for anything. They never went anywhere without the golden medallions they wore around their necks. All they had to do was speak the oath of their office, and the dark lunar armor would envelop their bodies, changing their coats gray, their eyes yellow and a vertical slit of a pupil, and their manes and tail would change to a dark purple color. The solar soldiers had it a little rougher. Their armor worked in much the same way as their natural counterparts, giving them unnatural speed, strength and healing ability, but unlike the Lunar Corps, they had to put on their armor on piece by piece. One Pegasus stallion in particular, a newer addition to the castle staff, was busying himself by strapping on his golden chest piece. Lieutenant Whirlwind lifted his helmet from the floor, and as soon as it was securely seated over his head, a warm orange light enveloped him, turning his ash-blue coat white and his eyes, mane and tail blue. Whirlwind was heading for the weapons rack when he heard what sounded like rolling thunder coming down the wall. As the sound came closer and closer, many of the guards looked up from what they were doing, just in time to see the door explode into the room. The Pegasi in the room flapped their wings briskly in an effort to expel the dust from the room, and the second the air had cleared, they all wished the dust would come back. Major Applebloom stood over a pile of kindling that used to be the door. "Well, isn't this a pretty picture? So many pretty fillies and handsome little colts playing soldier," she said, as she walked slowly between the colts and mares that were charged with guarding the residence of the royal family. "Tell me, what exactly were you all doing when some pony poisoned the princess?" Captain Merryweather, a member of the Solar Guards, stepped up boldly. "We were at our post, Major. I can assure you that no pony in my section of the castle slacked off for even a second. I'd stake my life on it," the unicorn assured her. "That goes double for my section," Captain Steelhoof, an Earth pony of the Lunar Corps, spoke up next. Two more ponies were about to step up to pledge that their section had not been slacking in their duties when Applebloom raised a hoof to stop them. "I'm sure that each of you would swear to be doing their duty, and as I was the pony to hoof-pick each of you, I have no doubts, but that does not negate the fact that some way, somehow, half the kitchen was poisoned with tansy extract. Now there are only two ways this could happen. Either some of you are lying to me and fell asleep at your post, or this was an inside job." "That's what her husband said," a stallion said softly to another standing next to him. Applebloom tried to ignore the biting jab, but made a mental note to remember the sound of that voice. "Now I have been charged by the princesses to find Dawn's assailant, and for that I will be assembling a team to go after this traitor, and any that follow them. After the prisoner is captured, they will be dragged before the princesses for judgment, and Faust help whoever they are, but because Princess Luna looked fit to tear the castle apart herself." 19 of 24 members of the Lunar Corps stationed at the castle stepped forward. "Major Filigree," Captain Steelhoof said, "I and all members of the Lunar Corps stand ready to assist our princess and her family." Applebloom smiled slightly. Had the rest of the corps been there instead of guarding the kitchen with 5 of the Solar Guards, she was sure they would have volunteered as well. Captain Hawthorne stepped forward with 19 of the Solar Guards present at the barracks. "We also stand ready to assist their majesties." Captain Hawthorne, I appreciate your volunteering, but for now I want the Solar Guards taking up all guards' duties for the day. The night ponies of the Lunar Corps can see things that you cannot, and I will need them to look for clues in the kitchen, the library, and the rooms of Dinky and Dusk. Figures that mare has been Luna's pet for years now, came the whispered voice again. Applebloom had had enough. I know I'm not the only one to hear that. Point out the pony who said that, so I may answer these accusations, General Stormwing said as he entered the room. Every mare and stallion in the room, save Applebloom, moved aside, exposing a lone lunar stallion at the back of the room. The general was about to chastise the offending stallion when Applebloom interceded. General, I appreciate the assist, but these ponies are under my command, not yours. If these ponies succeed or fail in their duties, it will be because of me, and if any of them need to be disciplined, it falls to me to dole it out. So, with all due respect, I'll deal with this myself, she said, standing up to the large white Pegasus in an attempt to save face in front of her troops. The guards in the room stood tall and proud at their major's words. She had taken complete responsibility for them, and the fact that she stood up to the general on their behalf made them all the more proud. As you wish, Major. Though I will remind you once again, you may be in charge here by royal order, but I still outrank you, and should you repeat this display again, I will not be lenient, he warned. Applebloom rolled her eyes at the general's words. Yeah, why don't you go back to Canterlot, you old buzzard? I'm sure there are some fresh recruits you can scare back there. The general stared at her with what he imagined was a death glare, and when she did not react, he stomped out of the room, leaving a yellow mare with her guards. He means well, but until he sees some real combat, he's going to have to try harder to intimidate me. Like you have room to talk, came that voice again from the back of the room. The offending stallion stood tall in his night regalia, attempting to stare down the mare at the other end of the room. I doubt you've seen any more combat than the general, yet you strut around like you own the place. Applebloom approached the stallion, seizing up as she walked. The pony in question looked much like any other stallion of the Lunar Corps, but there was something off about him. He was a full head shorter than his brothers and sisters, and what a bit on the thin side for one of their persuasions. You have no idea what real battle is, like you pathetic excuse for a stallion, the mare said, her voice reaming steady. A dark undertone to her words was almost palpable to the other ponies in the room. The Solar Guards stood there, uncertain what to do. The mares and stallions of the Lunar Corps whined softly. On one hoof they all wanted to protect their brother, but on the other they did not want to interfere with what would most certainly be a well-deserved dressing down. Says you, the stallion answered. I was in the Battle of the Line, where we defended the southwestern border of Equestria from a changeling invasion, she revealed, much to the surprise of the other guards in the room. We didn't have any armor or fancy weapons. We met them in combat hoof to hoof. Have you ever killed another living thing with your bare hoofs? I think not. Most soldiers know what they enter real combat. Blood will be spilled, yours, your comrades, and your enemies. But they don't tell you everything. When you kill some pony, they lose bladder and bowel control, and that means all the piss and shit spills out of their body along with the blood. Liar, the offending pony accused. Every pony knows that changelings live off love, and they consume from their beings. Yes and no. They derive the energy they need for their special abilities that way, but they still need food like everything else. You can trust me on that. During the battle they couldn't change shape. Their magic spent. The battlefield, once a dry barren piece of earth, cracked as desolate from lack of water, was churned to mud from blood and other bodily fluids spilled upon the ground. Fallen bodies of ponies and changelings alike were beaten into the ground by the hoofs of both sides. We couldn't stop to retrieve our fallen comrades, lest we die ourselves. If their injuries didn't kill them, then it's most certain they were trampled to death. When the fighting was over, only 29 of us out of 300 walked off the battlefield, caked in the blood and shit of our enemies and comrades. We left the dead where they lay because, to be honest, the bodies were so badly destroyed we couldn't tell pony from changeling. The battlefield stands to this day as a graveyard to those fallen on those fields," Applebloom told him. "Only 19 came back alive?" Captain Merryweather asked, a newfound respect for the Major audible in her voice. "Not exactly. 2 mares of the 29 died of vaginal infection because that slurry of death had gotten between their flanks. We were too far away from a decent hospital, and all our antibiotics had been used up days ago. I myself caught the infection and barely made it through. I doubt I will ever have children because of it," she said, trying to keep her emotions in check in front of the guards. "It's something they never tell you about. That sort of carnage leaves a stain on your soul that never washes away. 3 of the survivors killed themselves, not able to come to terms with what had happened. They left 24 ponies who survived the Battle of the Line, and that's why I chose 24 guards from both the day and night guards of Canterlot. Of course, if you were one of those chosen, you would have had presence of mind to realize that while we've been talking, I've been taking a head count of the ponies here, and including the 5 lunar ponies guarding the kitchen, you make a total of 25. I know the name of every pony selected here, and I don't know you, so before I let the Lunar Corps beat the crap out of you for impersonating one of their brothers, how about you tell me who you are and what you're doing here?" Earlier that day, while Princess Luna and Major Filigree were discovering Dawn in the kitchen, the emergency room doors of Ponyville General Hospital burst open, allowing Tootsie Flute's paramedic team to wheel in Rarity and Ditzy on their gurneys. Following close behind was Pinkie Pie, her daughter Honey, and son-in-law Jato. The head nurse, Red Heart, came running over to the 2 mares in distress. "What happened? Was there an accident?" Rumble, a light grey Pegasus with a dark grey mane, spoke up as the mares were rushing towards the hall. "We were called to Sugarcube Corner to transport 2 mares in labor," he said. "When we arrived, both mares were approximately 50% dilated and having contractions about 15 minutes apart. It's like their foaling are in sync or something." "That's been known to happen from time to time. Where's Tootsie Flute? As your supervisor, she should be with you," Nurse Red Hat said. "We have no idea," Gale, a light blue Pegasus mare with blonde mane, said as she pushed Ditzy's gurney. "She never showed up for work." "I see," Red Hat said, before walking closer to Rarity's gurney as they were wheeled into one of the hospital's large maternity rooms. "So, Rarity, you finally decided to have one in the hospital this time?" "Yes. Well, I didn't have much warning last time," she said with a small smile. Nurse Red Hat smiled back. "Is there anything I can get to make you more comfortable while we wait for the doctor?" "Yes. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, I'd like some pony to get Spike, and I'd like Fluttershy here as well. I'm sure the on-call doctors is very well educated, but I'd like much more comfortable with Fluttershy was there to do the delivery," the White Unicorn requested. "I understand. And is there anything or any pony I can get for you, Mrs. Hooves?" "I need Julian. Can some pony get him? I don't think I can have this foal without him here," she said, trying to control her breathing. "We can get some, right, honey? You can get Julian and Jato. You go get Fluttershy, and I'll find Spike," Pinkie said in her excited and bubbly way. "That's quite all right, Pinkie. These paramedics are some of the fastest ponies in town," she said, turning to the 4 Pegasi waiting on any further orders. "Well, you heard the 4 of them. Go fetch Dr. Apple, Julian, Spike, and some pony find Tootsie Flute." The 4 ponies scrambled to leave the room and carry out their appointed tasks. A stale grey earth pony dressed in a lab coat and stethoscope dacked around a corner just as the paramedics were rushing out the door. Pulling a strange black box out of his coat and holding it with one of his hooves, he used another to press a button on its side before speaking into it. "Your Majesty, 2 of the ponies in question have just been admitted to the hospital in labor, and another 2 followed with them. What are your orders?" "Wait for the children to be born, then snatch them and the mothers. We want the newborns alive for now," a masculine voice said through the black box. "Be sure to bind Jato's legs. That pony can be more trouble than he's worth. The others shouldn't be a problem." "As you wish, my king." Sweet Apple Acres had been rocked by travesty. The front door was destroyed, and the home's occupants numbered 2, where before there were 3. Upstairs the master bedroom lay empty. Down the hall and to the left was the bedroom of Toffee, the sweet little filly of Caramel and Applejack. The same 2 ponies that laid unconscious inside the once neat and tidy room of the 3-year-old foal. Applejack was first to regain consciousness and find the destroyed room that belonged to her daughter. The bed was overturned, the numerous stuffed animals that sat on the shelf were now scattered about the room, and the dresser was turned over, its mirror shattered. The light orange farm pony sat up with a hoof on her head, trying to remember what had happened. She and Caramel were sleeping in that morning, due to a little extra work they had gotten in the day before. In the early morning hours they both awoke to the sound of their front door being smashed to pieces. Both ponies were shocked into wakefulness by that noise. Not certain of what exactly they heard, they stayed still for a moment and listened. Hoofs, lots of hoofs, could be heard downstairs. "Caramel, some ponies downstairs." "I know. You go and check on Toffee. I'll go and scare them off. No pony breaks into my home," he said as he quietly got out of bed. Applejack was taken aback for a moment. She had never heard her husband like that. "Go, AJ. Make sure our daughter is safe. I'll deal with what's downstairs." While Applejack walked as quietly as she could to her daughter's room, Caramel charged down the stairs to find 3 ponies in their living room, 1 unicorn and 2 earth ponies, all stallions. "Well, well, boys, it looks like we woke one of them up with our entrance," one of the earth ponies said with a chuckle. "What do you 3 want in my home? We don't have anything thieves would value," Caramel stated boldly. "But that's where you're wrong," the unicorn said. "You see, your daughter is quite valuable to our master." "Get out of my house!" Caramel yelled as he charged in amongst them. The amber pony reared up and kicked out of each of them. Bucking his hoofs, he caught one of them in the chest, sending him over the sofa and crashing down through the coffee table. The unicorn tried to levitate him off the ground, but Caramel spun in the air and kicked him in the horn, causing a vibrating pain to course through the unicorn's skull. With his concentration broken, Caramel came crashing to the floor. He was down only for a second, but that was enough for the second earth pony to come up behind him and kick him in the back of the head, knocking him out. Applejack had been watching everything from the top of the stairs. She wanted to help, but both she and Caramel knew that if they had both them knocked out, Toffee would stand no chance. Caramel had proven himself a capable stallion by taking one of them out of commission and giving the unicorn a terrible headache, which would make things easier for her. She quietly walked back to her daughter's room and shut the door. Toffee was awake and sitting up in her bed. "Mama, what's wrong?" she whispered. "It's okay, my little darling. Your dad is taking care of it. Now go back to sleep, please. I'll be right there, baby." "How sweet," the intruding unicorn said with a slight smile. Before Applejack could do anything, his horn glowed, and both she and Toffee fell asleep. Children, especially tired children, are easy to put asleep, but a mare protecting her foal is not so easy. The spell had to fight against the pony. In her half-conscious state, she could hear what the others were saying, but she could not act. "What do you want us to do with this one, sir?" "Drop him in the hall. I don't know why you dragged him up here." "I was hoping the king would let us kill at least a few of them, you know, sending a message to the others." "Your bloodlust will get the better of you one day, Skies. His Majesty said that they are not to be harmed. He only wants their children," the unicorn said. "No, I won't let you take her," Caramel yelled as he charged the pony that had dropped him in the hallway. On his trip off the stairs, his head got banged around a little more, causing him to regain consciousness. Caramel tackled the stallion into his daughter's dresser, causing it to fall and its mirror to shatter across the floor. The other earth pony charged him, knocking Caramel against the wall, breaking a shelf in the process. When he came down, he landed on the side of the bed, causing it to flip towards him. Reaching out, he grabbed hold of his daughter and held her tightly to his chest. "Enough of this!" the unicorn said. His horn glowed again, and Caramel fell to sleep with his daughter in his hoofs. Applejack could no longer fight the spell and fell into merciful unconsciousness. When Applejack was able to think clearly again, she stumbled over to her husband and shook him, trying to wake him up. Caramel, please wake up. Please, I can't lose you too." The pony in question slowly opened his eyes, cringing at the pain in the back of his head. "Applejack, what happened?" Applejack was trying to wipe the tears from her eyes. "They took her, Caramel. They took our baby," she cried into his shoulder as she hugged him tightly. I know. Don't worry about it, darling. I'll get her back. I heard one of them saying that their king was only interested in the children. I can only guess that some pony is after Ponyville's children. Get to town and tell Garnet. I'll go to Big Mac's and make sure Chaser is okay. Then we'll go to the princesses and tell them what's happening, Caramel said, his voice sounding more resolute than usual. Promise me you'll bring our baby girl home, Caramel. Promise me. I promise, my love. I'll bring her back. Now go, and don't stop for anything, he said as they walked down the stairs to the front door. He gave her one last tight embrace before watching her gallop out of the house and down the road. Before leaving, Caramel took a long look at the disheveled room that used to be their living room. The Amber Stallion's right front hoof shot out to the side, splintering the door jamb of the house front door. I promise, Applejack, I'll bring our little girl home, and if so much as a hair is out of place on her sweet head, those who took her will pray for the end before I'm done with them. Caramel charged out of the house, heading for the cottage belonging to Big Macintosh and Fluttershy, hoping they did not suffer the same injuries that wounded him so deeply. Caramel cautiously approached the cottage home on the outskirts of Everfree Forest. The lights were out, which was odd for this time of morning. As he rounded to the front of the house, his heart sank into his hooves. The front door of the cottage had been smashed in, and Big Macintosh lay on the ground just outside. The Amber Stallion raced up to the path to the house as fast as his hoofs could take him. Leaning down, he placed his cheek in front of the Red Stallion's nose and was relieved when he felt the pony's breath. Checking him over, he could tell Macintosh had been involved in an epic struggle against the overwhelming odds. Bruises and cuts covered the stallion's body. Caramel gently nudged the stallion. Mac, I need you to wake up. He didn't move. Macintosh, wake up! He said louder. When the stallion did not stir, Caramel said a quick prayer of forgiveness, taking a deep breath and shouted down the stallion's ear. Wake the buck up, you miserable hulk of a pony, before I kick your flank up around your ears! The noise that violently assaulted Big Macintosh's ears was finally enough to bring him around.
What the hey? Caramel, what are you doing here?
I came to see if you and Fluttershy was okay when I found you unconscious, he explained. Where's Fluttershy? Please tell me they didn't get her and chase her. Macintosh struggled to get to his hoofs. Caramel stepped next to him, giving the large stallion something to lean against.
Thanks, Caramel, he said softly. Yeah, they came, a dozen of them. I tried to fight them off, I really did, but they overpowered me and took my son.
The large stallion said, tears falling from his eyes. What about Fluttershy?
She was called to the hospital. Rarity and Ditsy went into labor. Oh, Celestia, what am I gonna tell her?
He asked. Caramel looked into the stallion's large green eyes, searching for something to console his brother-in-law. You can tell her the truth. This isn't your fault, Big Macintosh. You couldn't possibly have fought them all off. You did your best, just like me and Applejack, he admitted.
They took Toffee too?
The Red Stallion asked, his voice wavering. Yes, we tried to fight them off, but they had a unicorn with them that used some sort of sleep spell on both of us. I tried, Big Mac, as much as I could, but in the end they took my daughter, Caramel admitted. Did you hear anything? Any names? Could you describe them?
Everything happened so fast, I didn't really have time to look at them before they jumped on me. I'm sorry, Caramel.
Macintosh, now's not the time for apologizing. You need to see a doctor, and I need to warn the others. Do you think you can make it to the castle?
Yup. It's not that far away, he said.
Good. Then I want you to head there and raise the alarm with the princesses. They'll see to your hurts there and make sure you're all right. I'm going to head into town and try to meet up with AJ and Garnet, and then I'm going over to the hospital. When you talk to the princesses, ask them to send some guards there. If Rarity and Ditsy are about to have a couple of new youngs, then I don't want to take a chance. They'll be targeted too, the Amber Stallion explained. You got all that?
No problem, Caramel. I'll get there as fast as I can. You can count on me,
he said with a half smile. I know I can, and hey, don't worry. You and me will get our kids back and Faust help whoever has them. Wow, every pony, this was really, once again, a really great chapter. Even so, I must say, okay, Dinky telling Dawn she doesn't love her? I don't know. That surely is some kind of misunderstanding, or at least I hope so. Hey, she gave up her leg for her. Okay, next up, Oh, damn it. Big Macintosh overwhelmed? That must have been an epic battle, really. Oh my god. Imagine Big Macintosh facing a dozen ponies. Oh my god. I really would have liked to read about that battle, because imagine Big Macintosh. He's always like, I don't know,
say something wrong and I'll smash your head in.
or something like that. I don't know. He's a really cool stallion. I like it. But, man, I'm really pumped up right now, but I gotta go downstairs, make breakfast. Okay, see you every pony in the next chapter. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony.